And a good Monday morning to you. Welcome to the Monday morning show here at the Livingston Parish News. It is 7:29 a.m. I do apologize. I'm 60 seconds early. Maybe found a pretty good logistical approach to the morning, trying to get here on time. So if you are joining us today live, we appreciate that. If you are listening or watching later, we do post these shows, www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. They are free there if you ever fall behind. We have audio and video versions there. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. And we are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We're online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. That's also where we put these podcasts. We're also twice a week in print, Thursdays and Sundays. So we'd appreciate you checking us out there. Let's roll into your traffic today. It's a Monday. Sorry about that, folks. Delays on I-12 westbound, backed up past Juban. There's also delays at Juban and 190. Heavy delays coming in all three directions, 4-H Club Road, River Road, and 190, where they come together on the western side of the parish in Denham Springs. Delays on Hatchell Lane, as well as 16 around Denham Springs High School, as well as Denham Springs Elementary and Denham Springs Junior High. Couple of delays north of Walker as well, especially where it meets 1025. Slowdowns there on 447 heading south. Delays north and south of Live Oak High School. Still relatively clear on 64 heading into Central as of this moment, 7:30 a.m. Monday morning, 9/9. It's also minor delays after the 10-12 split if you're heading westbound. Currently 80 degrees. It feels like 85. It's a hot one today, even though it is partly cloudy outside. High of 94. 20% chance of rain today. It's going to be another hot week. Fall, some of you might have noticed it's getting a little darker earlier, but still doesn't matter. It's still going to be hot outside. So just prepare yourselves for that as we move into the week. Low chance of rain every day, and hot. So, first and foremost, let's talk about the master plan meeting, which is coming up tomorrow night. This will be the first meeting since Mr. Tracy Gerlinghouse introduced adopting the 2013 master plan. If you don't know anything about that, we have talked about it quite a bit. We do have a podcast based around the 2013 Envision Livingston Master Plan, which we released this weekend. You can find it at www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. It's about 22 minutes long. We talk about the zoning portion. It's a lot of detail. It's very dense. We do apologize for that, but there's a lot of good information in there, so we hope you check that out. The 32,000 feet version of it is the Master Plan Committee for this time around was formed in May after a push from Tracy Gerlinghouse, who is the parish councilman for District 7, encompasses most of Walker. He wanted zoning. He said, we need zoning. We're past time, past due. So, and forming that master plan committee, their job was to update the old master plan and also look into parish-wide drainage, and eventually sewer got latched onto that as well, as both drainage and sewer were part of the original master plan. But the big focus was zoning. They were told that it would cost maybe about half as much, which would have been $225,000, to update the plan. Well, as time went by, they met with certain officials from the parish looking for money, looking for grant funds. Mark Harrell from the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness told him he could get a grant for it. He could get the funding. The problem was going to be the match. Any grant of that nature was going to be a 25% match. Went and talked to Parish President Leighton Ricks. Money just isn't there. So Mr. Gerlinghouse, after being told that the money wasn't there and that this process of trying to update for zoning, for drainage, for sewer was going to require engineers and $1.5 million to $2 million, it could take 2 years, he decided to just take a step back and say, let's adopt this thing as it stands and let's try to get it passed. And that way they can focus on zoning, and perhaps the master plan can focus on, committee can focus on some other things. Again, this will be their first meeting after that was introduced. It will not be voted on until the end of September. The parish council gave themselves a month to look it over. We will be on hand tomorrow night at the master plan committee to keep you updated on what happens. They'll be focused on the economic corridor, which is mentioned a lot in the original master plan. And what it is a 1.5 mile, both north and south of I-12 zone, where they were looking to implement zoning, heavy zoning, and or very strict zoning, I should say, and improved infrastructure to try to attract industry and commercial businesses to consider that kind of the gateway to Livingston Parish. It was also intended to hold jobs here, as about roughly 66% of people, or 2 out of 3, leave every day and go somewhere else to work. The idea being they spend their money somewhere else. Trying to improve the tax base here with that move as well, because as mentioned in the original master plan, the growth in taxes simply isn't keeping up with the growth in people. Retail is also not necessarily following rooftops because of things like Amazon and online retail outlets. So will be interesting to see what they talk about tomorrow night, but that is, you can read all about that in the saga at www.livingstonparishnews.com/news. That's one of our stories we have for today that came up over the weekend. Mr. Kevin Scheck, moving on, Mr. Kevin Scheck became the assistant principal, or one of the assistant principals at Live Oak High School. Well, at last week's school board meeting, they approved that. And there was also a change order at the STEM Center of $74,000 as they try to work through piecing and patching together those buildings that were built in 2016 and were built to base flood. So they actually only took a few inches of water. So they're still being used as the Science and Robotics Center, which that area has been turned into now. Mr. Bill Cassidy, or U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy, toured the building last week, was very impressed with it. He also brought up an idea during that time that perhaps foreign language should be substituted with coding. It was an interesting thought. He was discussing it with the director of the STEM Center, Superintendent Joe Murphy, and Assistant Superintendent Jody Purvis. Be interesting to hear your thoughts on whether or not language should be substituted with coding, or perhaps both. Someone very near and dear to my heart said that to me over the weekend when she and I were having a discussion. That would be my wife, Melanie. She said, I think everybody should have both because they are both important. So interested to hear your thoughts. Leave us a comment. We want to hear what you have to think. Before he went to the STEM Center, Senator Bill Cassidy did speak to a large group of students, AP government students, at Denham Springs High School. They talked about things like immigration, opioids, vaping, and automation. And automation was interesting considering that he would soon be going to the Robotics Center. About illegal immigration, his thoughts were he supported President Donald Trump's effort to secure the southern border. He wanted to make those folks citizens so that they would pay taxes or would be guaranteed to pay taxes and those sorts of things. Now, we all know you're not guaranteed, but you can't go to jail if you don't. He also brought up the opioid crisis and that he's still working for transparency in drug prices, so that was good to hear. He also said that vaping has become a problem. It became a gateway into something a little more sinister, a little more of a health risk. As some of you may have noticed, especially those of you who have teenage kids, you keep an eye on these things. There's a lot of instances of oil-based vape coming out now that is absolutely ruining kids' lungs. A lot of them ending up in the hospital. It's a very scary deal. Please keep an eye on what your kids are doing. Vaping is not the move. Automation was very interesting. Mr. Cassidy said that he was optimistic about it, even though he knew that it would remove some jobs as they would be automated. It would open the door for people to do other jobs. And he brought up several examples of things like, the sewing machine being automated and suddenly moving women into another field, and he even brought up, maybe his wife would still be sitting at a sewing machine if they had never automated it, but instead she's a general surgeon now. So, in his mind, that these things would be automated, anything from, checkout lines, that sort of thing, that would open the door for those folks to do something else. Somebody would come up with something else for them to do. He very much believed that. It was a very interesting talk, great questions from those kids at that AP government course. You can read about his visit to the STEM Center, Denham Springs High School, as well as his thoughts on coding and language at www.livingstonparishnews.com/news. We have our first full regular week of the prep football season under our belts. We had 5 games and kind of a mixed bag, but we had 3 teams won. 2 won in a shootout. One won by holding an LSU commit quarterback to only 14 points. And then Denham remains befuddled, and Springfield had a rough trip to Mississippi. So let's roll through it real quick. Walker 38, Madison Prep 30. Quite a shootout there. We have what's called our content hub for prep football is up at www.livingstonparishnews.com/sports. This is where you can see the game stories, the photo galleries, as well as any videos we took, any interview video that we took after the game. So you can check that out. www.livingstonparishnews.com/sports. Be looking for the content hub for prep football. Live Oak, this is the one, 35, Ponchatoula 14. Yours truly had the pleasure, although I'm very rusty, of shooting that game for photography. It was a very interesting game going into half, but a little gamble coming out of halftime by Coach Brett Beard. An in-ray, an onside kick, opened the door for them to eventually pull ahead and stay ahead 35-14. Hahnville 28, Denham Springs 0. Tough. It just been a tough open to the season. Jamboree was rough. Just having trouble putting points together. They'll be the Yellow Jackets will be looking to figure some things out going forward. Albany 68, Independence 44. I was sitting there taking photos and pulling out my phone in between drives to check Twitter, and poor Rob just seemed like every about 5 minutes he was texting a score. And it may seem like that's exciting, but a lot of times those games go on for a long time. This particular one was nearly the length of the LSU-Texas game. Go Tigers, by the way. 3.5, nearly 4 hours, but what a shootout. Albany eventually pulled ahead and stayed ahead for that final 68-44. And as mentioned, Springfield dropped a heartbreaker after traveling up to Boca Chica, Mississippi, 23-20, as they were behind, tried to catch up, couldn't quite catch up. So anyway, remember, you can read about all of those football stories. Look at those photos at www.livingstonparishnews.com/sports. Look for the content hub. Last but certainly not least, we are talking about Lane Hardy. Remember, on September 28th, that is a Saturday, Lane will be performing along with a long list of celebrities and musicians at North Park in Denham Springs. It begins at 11 a.m. and, they've changed the time. The gates open at 9 a.m. Chase Tyler Band kicks it off at 1 p.m. LaRue at 3 p.m. Kendall Schaffer at 5. Parish County Line at 7. And Lane Hardy at 8:30. So he'll be having a homecoming of sorts, another one, as he comes back to serenade us all with his voice after a long day of music at North Park. The reason we're bringing this story up is because the Merchants Association in Denham Springs is having a drawing for a Lane Hardy Homecoming Bash. The tickets are now on sale. So over the next 2 weeks, people can shop in the Antique Village and be entered into a drawing to win passes to the Lane Hardy Homecoming Bash, an all-day concert that will hit North Park in Denham Springs Saturday, September 28th. To enter the drawing, here's the important part. People must spend at least $10 inside any shop in the Antique Village. Main Street manager Donna Jennings said more than 30 stores are participating in the drawing, and shoppers can enter from each store as long as the minimum purchase is made. So please remember, you got to spend at least $10 in the Antique Merchants Association area, which is downtown Denham Springs, or the Antique Village. If you spend at least $10, you will be entered to enter into a raffle to see if you can win some tickets to that homecoming concert. So go down to downtown Denham Springs, do some shopping, spend at least $10, get in on that raffle. Let's bring it right around and let's see how traffic's doing 15 minutes before the hour, and looks like things are starting to clear up. Traffic has eased down to nothing in and around Live Oak High School on North Highway 16. However, that traffic is funneling down Highway 16, so there are minor delays, especially at 1019 and 16 as those folks try to make their way to the interstate. Unfortunately, they will smack into some heavy traffic. Delays now back past Juban on I-12 westbound, as well as 190 and Juban are stacking up. Minor delays after the 10-12 split. Looking relatively clear at 190 4H Club Road and River Road. Small delays there. They were heavy earlier. I guess in those 15 minutes they got a couple of waves through, sending them on a 190 into Baton Rouge. Some heavy delays still on North 447 heading into 1025. So be on the lookout for those today. And small delays on 64 heading into Central. It's currently 85 degrees. 94 degrees is your high. We'll probably feel something like 100. It's partly cloudy out there, but there's only a 20% chance of rain, so just kind of a dreary, muggy day. Again, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you joining us today on this Monday morning show. We run at 7:30 and 4 in the morning and 4:30 in the afternoon. We also take these shows and post them www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. They are free. We have audio versions and video versions available there. If you're watching the video version, we would appreciate it. And if you're watching it live, we would appreciate it if you weren't driving. Please do not drive and try to watch the video. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are twice a week in print, Thursdays and Sundays. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com, and we have an app. If you're looking for breaking news, we do send out push notifications. We label them as breaking. Our breaking section is free, so you can read those, excuse me, whenever you feel like it. Again, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you joining us on this Monday morning. We do hope you'd leave a comment about whether or not you think coding or foreign language would be best, or perhaps both. We're interested in your thoughts. Otherwise, have a great Monday. We hope you have a great week. We will see you this afternoon.